When you study for the PMP exam or the CAPM, when you first crack open the PMBOK guide, within a few minutes of reading, your mind starts to wander and your eyes start getting heavy. It's as if the book was written by a circus hypnotist, expert at putting people to sleep with a few sentences. But you've got to find a way to circle around that PMBOK guide and wrestle it under control and extract out of it the important information you'll need to do well on the test. There's certain language in there that you need to recognize, and there's all sorts of details in there that you need to read and retain and absorb on a best effort basis. So I'm going to describe for you a strategy that I've devised that students have found really helpful to, as I say, circle around the PMBOK guide, wrestle it under control so that you can master it and get out of it what you need to do well on the exam. So here's my approach for circling around the PMBOK guide and wrestling it under control. What you're going to do is sneak up on it by first doing a first pass where you just learn the fundamentals and you don't try to read the PMBOK guide very carefully. And then in the second pass, we're going to do a deep reading of the PMBOK guide and extract out of it what we need to. And by now we have enough understanding and enough context perspective to accomplish this and master the PMBOK guide instead of letting it put us to sleep. So I'm going to step through this piece by piece. First, for each chapter, just do a skim, a super quick, light skim of the PMBOK guide. I mean, just 5 or 10 minutes for a chapter. And then study the videos in my e-learning course, PRT, short for Project Road Training. Study those videos carefully, do the practice questions for each knowledge area in my e-learning course, and then read that corresponding chapter in the Crosswind study guide. And in the Crosswind study guide, the text there will be much easier to understand, and it'll point out the important concepts from the PMBOK guide. So this is a good way to lay down that foundation. And along the way, of course, you're going to keep working on your brain dump, the flashcards, and the ITTO exercises as described in detail in my e-learning course in the overview module. Now, once you've done this first pass, and that should take about 6 weeks, you'll be ready to do this second pass, another 6 weeks, and then that's the 3 months that I suggest is typically required to prepare fully for the exam. So now in this second pass, what we're going to do is a selective deep reading of the PMBOK guide, chapter by chapter. So you're going to read past the stuff that you've mastered through studying your brain dump, the flashcards, and the ITTO exercises. You're going to skim past all that stuff, and you're going to read and retain the other stuff that's in there that you need to absorb for the test. All of the stuff that is talking about emerging trends, agile considerations, details on certain tools and techniques, what the PMBOK says a certain process is intended to do. There's a lot of details in there. There's a lot of perspective in there. There's a lot of underlying PMI framework ways of thinking about things in there, and you need to read and absorb all of that on a best effort basis to do well on the test. And along the way, you want to keep working on practice questions. So now you can work on the practice questions in Crosswinds, and you can review the videos in my e-learning course as needed. And again, along the way, keep working on your brain dump every day, your flashcards every day, and approximately 3 times a week, work on those ITTO drag and drop exercises. And in the second pass, you'll get this deeper understanding of what's in the PMBOK guide, and you'll be getting yourself through that final tune-up to do well on the exam. Altogether, this will take approximately 3 months. And I've said elsewhere that this is going to take approximately 8 hours a week. That's really a minimum. If you think through all of this study here, there's a good chance it might add up to 10 or 12 hours a week. So if you're not putting in at least 8 hours a week, you're completely missing the boat, and there's a good chance you'll never get fully ready for the test. You really got to buckle down and keep your head in the game for 3 months, typically, to do well on the exam. I'd love to hear your feedback on this. Let me know how it works for you. Thank you.